Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for another movie review. This is a film straight from Netflix, K-pop Demon Hunters. Now, this is produced by Sony Animated Features, but if you've seen Spider-Verse, you know what they're capable of. But how do you have K-pop and Demon Hunters together? So you do have a trio of amazing girls that are very talented, at the top of the charts, and they are a group, but they're also demon hunters. How do you merge those two factors in? This is what you get in this film. And you get the music, you get all the antics, you get all the crazy animations. So to make this done right, I needed to have a collaborative effort. I'm going to bring in my co-host from Ride Us. Hey. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm Shireen from Geek Girl Riot and Riotous. So we have our show, Geek Girl Riot, that is on Adobe Radio, and it is every Tuesday night. And then we have Riotous, which is our website where you can get all the content and all of the coverage. We especially, important to your fans is we love anime. And so we do a lot of that. So that's how you and I kind of came together. And for you, I am a big K-drama fan, which this is kind of a K-drama. It's surrounding K-pop, but it has all the beats of the K-dramas.
I would agree to that. I have not watched enough K-drama, but I've watched a lot of amazing music and a lot of artists, and I love animation. So this is a perfect merger in between the two. So I'm going to ask you up front, did you already notice this was something that you were going to be interested in from the animation, or was it you were just curious to see how they could merge those two together? Because we've had, Demon Slayer. We've got a new, I think even Demon Hunter show on High Dive right now. It's doing really well, but it's kind of like, how do you merge K-pop into this? What was your take before we even got into this?
Well, I went into it kind of cold because I wasn't sure. I mean, the minute that you say K-pop, and I keep calling it K-pop Demon Slayers but the minute that you got K-pop and I saw what it was and I saw it was animation and I knew that it was going to be girls slaying demons, come on. That's all you need. Like, just, this girl squad that has come from a long line of demon hunters, and they've been doing it, and they're using the power of their voices to eat the demons back. That you don't need a whole lot more than that for me.
Yeah, for me, I went in really cold as well. Like, just off of the name, it was more curiosity to me. I knew that from the animated studio, that made Spider-Verse and some other amazing films, I was kind of like, I'm going to be there. Mm-hmm. What I didn't anticipate is getting all the music and getting animated features with music, with great fight animation. That threw me off because I never saw a trailer. I didn't know what to really expect at all. But I have to talk about it because, I have listened to some K-pop groups in the past, but it's been years, honestly. You maybe have listened to it more than I have, but it was such a refreshing feel to watch these girls do their thing on stage, but then at the same time also do life through this whole entire circumstance. Like, they are real demon hunters. Like, lives are at stake, souls are at stake while they're singing and doing what they have. And it's kind of like, it's also a catalyst to their ability too. So I love the singing in this. I was going to bring that up. What was your take on their tracks, the singing, and how they use that as a merger as far as their fighting as well?
Okay, so before we get there, I have the fan just in case. Okay. Before we get into that, I want to go back to something that you said really quickly, which is you talked about the fact that this is from, Sony Pictures Animation, which did Spider-Verse, and you see it. You alluded to it, but you really do see some of the same big splashy liquid fashion, not fashion, but the fashion is good too. But the kind of liquid fighting sequences that you're used to seeing from Spider-Verse, and it works so well here because they also use it for the choreography. So you got this amazing dance choreography, all of these movements that also relates to the way that they fight. So I wanted to say that, but to answer your question, I did not know it was a musical either. I expected like a nod to K-pop, but it to be more about the demon slaying. But then they were like, no, we're gonna give you like you know what it reminded me of? Turning Red, where they're giving you a whole soundtrack full of music that you can now go listen to, and the music is great. Like these are real K-pop tracks that you can see us dancing to. I mean, anywhere from the club all the way into the grocery store. These are real tracks, and I like made a list of my favorites. And what's really cool is that I think 3 members of Twice have made a new song, and that song is called Takedown. Thank you. Oh, you good on the production, Sam.
I'm right there with you. Right there with you.
Yeah, that's a great song, but I don't know what favorites you had. I think my favorite was the song Free, which is a duet. But I mean, the Soda Pop song is fantastic. The way it's done. I think it's something about That's My Sound or Sound of My something like that. Like I loved almost every track that they put out with this. This is what it sounds like. Oh my gosh. So the music is great.
Yeah, I think that it was an interesting nudge with the character Jinwoo. Like when Jinwoo actually came onto the scene, not to say the music wasn't great, but it changed the dynamics of where I felt like the story is about to go. Because I didn't understand how he was going to fit. I didn't understand if it was going to be more of an antagonist kind of situation. But as soon as he started to sing, I was like, this man, he got a gift. Like, he's the next Lenny Bruce. Like he legit, every single moment where you see him singing or invoking what's going on with his past, or even like you said, the duets, it's magical. It feels so authentic in the way that they handled it from an animation point. Yes, but it felt like the actors were really going for it. It didn't feel like it was phoned in. Like I felt like every single song worked in tandem with how they were acting and how they were portraying it. And so I'm curious to see how long they were in production with this, because they had to do some heavy lifting, because the animation is crispy. It is great. The facial expressions were hilarious, but they didn't miss a beat.
They go super deformed several times, which you like, yeah.
Dog, this one right here took me out. Like they have these random facial expressions that are so anime. I love it. I really do love it. But yeah, no, I think that they did a really good job with the music. It's definitely going to have callbacks. I can't wait to go back and check out the soundtrack. Hopefully Netflix capitalizes on that and makes it available on like Apple Music or Spotify, because it's worth listening to, you guys. I highly recommend you go and check it out.
Yeah, you can pre-save it. You can actually pre-save it on Apple Music or Spotify right now. We can share those links with you guys, of course. Should we set this story up for them a little bit? Or
yeah, definitely go for it.
Okay, so as we've told you, we've got this girl group that is comprised of Rumi, Mira, and Zoey. Zoey is an American, which again, this movie is so on to what goes on, not just in K-pop, but what happens in K-drama. And so Zoey being from America is perfect. I think Mira is from like a wealthy family and she's the rebel child. Again, perfect. And Rumi is our lead secret, voiced by Arden Cho, our lead singer, voiced by Arden Cho, who has secrets that kind of come out as we watch. But what they have to do is, I think it's called the Hanmun, which you guys forgive us if we don't pronounce stuff right. We do not speak Hangul, but we're going to do our best. But they have to kind of put up this force field that protects the worlds from demons, and they power it with their voices, okay, I'll stop that now. But but that's where we start. And then you've got the demon boy band comes in, because they're coming in to try to go undercover and take these girls down. And they're led by, as you said, Jinwoo, who is he also has a troubling past of his own, and he's trying to resolve himself or absolve himself of that. But I think the guy who voices him is a K-drama star. I don't know him well, but I think it's on Hyosop or something like that.
Yep. Hyosop.
Yeah, Hyosop. And like you said, he just does the job. And then we've got Joel Kim Booster that's voicing a lot of the rest of the boy band, and it just hits all of these beats. So that's the setup. That's the setup that you guys want to know about. I think it's gonna pop. I think this one is gonna pop. And did you get a feeling like we might get a part 2?
I think that there are a lot of things that they didn't necessarily resolve. I think that the thing that makes it so compelling is the characters, the main 3 girls, like you said, they come from a lineage of young women that are literally putting their lives on the line to protect everybody without them really knowing. And, you know, one of the girls really does have an existential crisis. Like it's not a game. And I think that her story arc is so interesting because it puts a different perspective on how all this even works. Like you don't necessarily know if all this down the centuries have been done the right way. And it pulls that question up. And I was like, that's cool. But then when you get to Jin-woo, it asks the question of how these demons even created, like how and why this is going on. What is the in-between? So I think that they do leave a lot open to open the world up. And then this literally right underneath the surface. I can't say it because this is a non-spoiler review. You guys, if you want a spoiler review, let us know. We can bring more people and talk about it. But there's absolutely grounds for more. I want more.
Me too. Because do the demons have autonomy? That's a question we get, right? Yeah. That's a teaser. That's not a spoil, y'all.
Yeah, I'm trying my best to navigate it. But what I can give you guys is that the girls are trying their best to hit a mark that no one has hit yet from a level of protection. And it all surrounds the honeymoon. But at the same time, they love what they do. They love protecting people and they love using their voices to make people feel a lot better. And they're having to level set what that responsibility looks like as soon as this other guy group comes in, because they're also dealing with their own emotions about it.
Yes.
And they're also kind of dealing with what does this actually really mean about who they're supposed to be. And they capitalize on it with the animation. They make it so funny and engaging. But the fights aren't like, they're brutal. It's just not a lot of violence in terms of gore and blood and whatnot. But
because they kind of dust the demons, like
right.
Yeah, right. It's not, but they go hard. I don't know if you picked up on this, but did you catch that they did a nod to Train to Busan? That was fun. That was hilarious. That was hilarious. And they do a lot of that. Like the boy band is set up. Both bands are set up with where you're going to have your biases. And so with Jeongyeon, he is a total tsundere. You know, like he's got all of those, but then you've got like your romance boy, you've got your mystery boy, you've got your baby boy, you've got your sporty, you know, yeah. So they're all deres, and that is really cool that they really do know K-pop and K-drama, the makers of this. I think the story is from Maggie Kang, and then you've got like Chris Appelhans and Michelle Wong, and you really see how well they know this genre. And so they're putting all of these little Easter eggs in there and all of these nods. And what I loved about I think it's called Saja Boys. That's what that's
the boy group.
Lion Boys. They do this thing where they use their demon powers when they're performing, so that it feels like the magic that you feel when you're watching your favorite band is like they're actually experiencing all the hearts and the big colorful emotions, but it's really happening because the demons are making you feel that. Right. And I thought, that's cute. I like that.
Yeah, they're invoking an actual emotion, and you don't know. Like, it was interesting because the thing that they also deal with is like people that feel like they don't belong, or any kind of vulnerability that you may have, whether you second guess yourself, you're dealing with hopelessness or doubt or fear or anxiety. You know, the demons do capitalize on that. Yeah. But the other side of that, it also begs the question of like, what does this actually really mean? Like, what is actually on the other side of all this? And I love how they add certain characters like what you're seeing up here to the fold. This little big cat that just has like the most worst ADHD. Like if something isn't a certain kind of way, you're like, oh no, this is not gonna happen. And then you got a legit like three-eyed bird with a hat. And so it's this small
raven, baby. Yeah.
But it's small little nudges like that from an animation standpoint, but it adds character to each character. Like when you have like somebody like Rumi that's trying to navigate certain things about this, I don't know, it makes it not just a one-sided conversation. I do like the second act has a really interesting tonal shift, and it gets into more serious emotional tones that I didn't anticipate. And the whole entire cast has to kind of question where they're gonna go moving forward, going from the second to third act. So I like that. I really did think that was really interesting. I guess that's more the K-drama. That's your speed then.
Yeah, that's my thing. I'm a big K-drama fan. And yeah, they do that K-drama. Like we have this thing in America where they tell you not to shift tones and things like that. But as you well know, in anime, and this goes into K-drama, C-drama, they really do know how to have a rom-com.
Yeah.
It also goes deep and is not afraid to take some turns and still be lighthearted and still have some hijinks in it. And so I totally agree with you. As the stakes kind of go up and we get to see the inner workings of these characters, some of their darkness comes out and these unresolved issues that they're so afraid of showing themselves. And that is their point of connection with the audience. And they're feeding off the audience, which is similar to a show that you and I are both enjoying, which is, what is it?
To Be Hero X.
To Be Hero X. I was like, I was about to say Big Hero 6. My brain went Big Hero 6, but yeah, to Be Hero X does the same thing where it's your popularity. And that's not quite what it is here, but it's a very similar vibe of how desperately they need to hold on to the fandom. But rather than it just being vanity, it is a very real kind of stakes on the table of who wins this game between the hunters and the demons if they don't hold on to those fans. And I thought it was real cool that they kind of give you this feeling that our being capricious as human beings is a part of the problem. Like that we're putting ourselves in danger because we're always looking for that next big thrill. And I like that part.
Yeah. And I think the interesting thing is the vulnerability that all the characters eventually do go through. I don't think that there's one character that doesn't deal with something. So they give time for each specific character, not necessarily the guy group, but I do love even like the announcer guy that kind of worked with them as the manager. Like all of them deal with different vulnerabilities, and it just kind of plays into what the demons are trying to do. The only thing that was a little bit of a nitpick for me is I didn't really know how the souls were being managed. Like once the soul is taken, or the ramifications of kind of certain things that happen in the second act, they don't necessarily resolve. They kind of wrap it in a bow. That's why I'm leaning towards this having to be a sequel, because it's cause and effect to everything. And I still don't really know how and why these demons, without saying too much.
Right.
But I think that they're making it so ambiguous. It's kind of like, did they do that intentionally and they're just never going to resolve it? I would take that as a negative. But if it's that you're leaning towards something more, and I feel like when you have like these kind of characters like this, like there's more here. I just don't know what.
Like Celine, the woman who is basically like their Giles. Like we see very little of her, but she seems like such an important character. And so I do have to wonder if there's a part two. I mean, even the ending, which you and I could talk about offline, it feels like, is that it? Like there must be something else there, you know, that gives us more of that kind of B storyline, because I'm trying also not to tell anything. It's really hard though. That's Liza Koshy, by the way, as Celine. And then you've got, when you talked about Wait, not like no, that's not. That's yeah, I think that is. No, that's wrong. It's not Liza Koshy. No. You know what? The list is really weird, but I think Ken Jeong is Bobby, the manager that you
Yep,
talked
he
about.
is. He is.
And it's Kim Eugene, who Kim Eugene is actually Celine. And we need to see more of that. We need to understand, like you said, the ramifications of these souls being snatched. Is it permanent? What does it do to the humans when they get snatched? There's all of that that they've set the groundwork where this story could run for a while.
They
And
did.
you don't always know about that because it is animated. Lee Byung-hun is there, and he is Guima, I think Guima, something like that. Again, you guys forgive our pronunciations because we don't speak the language. But yeah, there's a lot of territory to cover here. And I found myself kind of wishing or hoping that they're gonna do a live action. Like I'd like to see South Korea take on, like maybe Dragon take on an actual live action of this, because I think a series would be so good.
I think that there's a market for it. I mean, if you guys don't know, sometimes certain animated films or shows, whether they're Japanese, whether they're Chinese, they can invoke a different emotion that even live action can't touch. And I think that the limitations of it, they don't necessarily care about the tonal shifts, like she said. They don't necessarily care about like kind of like they having to fit like a certain kind of demographic. It's more so what's happening in the real. And you find connection with that. And I think that animation can invoke that very easily. And now we've got so many different series that are coming up with different things. So I say go for it. If Netflix asked us, we would say, please continue more. If you want a film, go for it. If you want a series, go for it. But to kind of round things out, I mean, for me, I think that animation is beautiful. Mm-hmm. Every choreographed action scene or every choreographed dance scene or dance number was animated to the T. Great character, facial expression. The soundtrack is great. But I think the other thing is we didn't talk about is the score is pretty good as well. Like they do a really interesting things with the quiet moments with the score. There's always things that are happening in the background. And then the lore. I think from the story standpoint, I don't watch as much K-drama, but if they're like this, I can see why there's a connection there with people, because I think what it does is it kind of draws you in, but it also thrills you. It makes you feel good. I don't know how to really explain it. It's not too over the top, but at the same time, it's enough that you're like, I feel something from this, but it actually makes me feel good. And I think that is one of the draws with how they handle this balancing act of music, animation, K-drama, and K-pop. So I think they did a really good job with this. For me, I mean, closing review, I'll give it like an 8.5 out of 10. Like, I mean, there's certain things I really want to know more about. If they don't make another one, then I'll keep the score like that. But I will leave it open to interpretation. If they do continue this on, it'll probably go up because I'll go back to this film again for sure.
Yeah.
But what's your closing thoughts, though?
My closing thoughts. So I think I'm with you, and that I would give it around an 8 because there are some elements that are missing that you don't quite get. But on Riotous, we're now doing levels of enthusiasm. So on my levels of enthusiasm, I'm in the 90% enthusiastic about this because it made me happy. Like you said, it brought all of those elements in of K-pop and K-drama. It really nodded to the fans, so the fans know that they are in on the joke, or in on the kind of wink and a nudge, like, yeah, we've seen that happen in the fandom. So I loved that about it. And also they really do use it as a musical as opposed to just performances by the band. The music actually does progress the story, which is one of the things that you need for a musical. And we are seeing emotions get pushed and revelations happen within the music. So that was really smart too. So yeah, K-pop Demon Hunters, I need a part 2. I need a series. I need a franchise, and I need a live action because that's how much I enjoyed it. There's that Train to Busan element right here. If they gave me some Gong Yu in there, it would have been perfect. I'd have been 100% enthusiastic about it.
Yeah. But hopefully you guys did enjoy our review. If you want to hear more, where can everybody find your content?
So you can find me on the show Geek Girl Riot, and that is wherever you get your podcast. You can, it's also live on Tuesday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern on Adobe Radio. So you can stream it. You can catch up with it on Wednesdays when we drop the episodes on podcast. And we are also on Riotus. That's RIOTUS.com, or actually it's RIO-US.com. So you can check us out there. And also, Sam, we forgot to say the voice acting in K-pop Demon Hunters is amazing.
Yes. Yeah. So the thing that you guys don't know, there are, how do I say this nicely? There are certain features, whether it's series or movies, that sometimes the dubbing is not good.
Yeah.
Sometimes you much prefer the Japanese or the original translation much better. They do a really good job with this, to the point that you never miss a step. It's animated well towards the person's voice, but the voice acting, they are invoking emotions while they're doing it. They're not phoning it in. And I think the singing is just beautiful. So yeah, the voice acting talent in this is great. I think, have you seen Belle? Have you seen Belle?
Yeah, I liked Belle a lot. Yeah.
Like, the thing I love about Belle is like the music. Oh my gosh. But the person that was doing the Japanese version of Belle and the American were both the actual actors and also singing it. But every single time there was a tonal shift, like you could feel it. And I think that they do a really good job, regardless of if the voice actors were actually singing or not. They still did an amazing job with what they did. So.
They did. Absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, sidebar, I watched Solo Leveling in Korean. Yeah, I have to, because it's a Korean story and I watch it in Korean, and it makes more sense to me, because watching them be in Seoul in Japanese is weird for me. So yeah.
We're going to have a sidebar conversation about that. But thank you guys so much for watching. This is a great collaboration. If you guys want us to talk about another anime film or series, we would love to collaborate, and we can't wait to talk about a little bit more. I'm probably going to try to bring her in onto our 2B Hero X streams that we normally do on TikTok. So if you don't know, all of our anime content is on TikTok right now. Go to the description bar below. You can be able to find it. And we'll talk to you guys later. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good night, good evening, good day, all that good stuff. Peace, people.
Filing out the top of I can see the skyline, 50 mile radius on my timeline. Ain't nothing on my mind. Oh Lord.